Hello and welcome to this Bad Choices Drinkisode episode where Kris Newton and I have tested various cocktails so you don't have to. That's right, we are preparing for Bad Choices Nite Couples on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific on Crowdcast. That's right, it's a live stream. You don't even have to put on pants. In fact, we actively discourage pants.
Yes, with extreme prejudice. You will be checked at the door.
Yeah.
In the chat, everybody who's wearing pants, hands up.
Yeah, and then we go, boo, boo, pants.
And it's worth mentioning, too, we are re-recording.
Yes.
We had to do this Drinkisode before.
This is our third attempt. I'm going to say, it's not the alcohol's fault. Let me be very fucking clear about that. You would think it would be. It's not.
No. As usual, the alcohol was present, but the root problem was issues that I had long before I was drinking.
Yes. Kris Newton and I tested 5 mid-century American cocktails. Not cocktails that were invented during the 1950s and 60s, but cocktails that were extremely popular during the 1950s and 60s. So we tested the Mai Tai, the Old Fashioned, the Sidecar, the Manhattan, and the vodka martini. Yes, the vodka martini, not the gin martini. The vodka martini was extremely popular in the 50s and 60s, as opposed to the gin martini, which is considered the more classic martini.
Yes, and it's also the drink that James Bond drinks.
Yes.
Which means it's appropriate because we're talking about Get Smart on our Nick at Night episode.
Yes. We're talking about so many delicious and wonderful TV shows on Nick at Night Couples on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific on Crowdcast. How do you register to go to this? Why, my friend, you just go to the show notes. The link to register will be in the show notes. Anyone who is a patron of Hard Choices at any level gets to come to Bad Choices Nick at Night Couples. That's right. For a mere $1.69 of your finest cents, you can come and watch madness. Joyous, debauched, horny madness as myself, Kris Newton, James D'Amato, Marissa, all of us go, God damn, Lucy Ricardo. God damn, lady.
The original name of the series.
Yeah.
God damn it, Lucy.
Oh, man, I can hear Ricky saying that.
As soon as the camera stopped rolling.
Yes.
That show is better if you assume that they just, knocked everything off the desk and jumped up on it and fucked after every scene. It's the only way their relationship makes sense.
Truly, truly. So I want to just let you know, how did this work? What we did is we went to the liquor store. We bought an unbelievable variety of liquor to the point that they said, do you work at a bar? Are you opening a bar? And we said, no, it's more embarrassing. We have a podcast. And he was like, you know what? That's the end of the questions I want to ask. Don't worry. What we did was we made 5 different drinks. We only made one. And then we split each one so that way we had a reasonable amount of ounces of alcohol as opposed to what would have been 12 ounces of alcohol each, which would have killed us. So
it would have killed you. I've had about that much liquor on your podcast.
We'll talk about this later, baby. So we're going to go through what we had and what we thought of it. All right, baby, would you like to start us off?
So the first drink that we tried was the Mai Tai. We made it in the traditional way, which is why it came first. Very wisely, Meg and Bob decided we should make these drinks in order of most to least complicated, so that as we had more alcohol, it'd be easier to make subsequent drinks. So the Mai Tai came first.
That was a very important consideration as we were going to be making some of these, because some of these you got to work for it. Like, there's a lot of foreplay involved in a couple of these cocktails.
Yes. And the Mai Tai, it's a complicated drink, but we made it. We made it with orgeat. We didn't use a pre-mixed anything. And as with all the drinks, we rated this one according to 3 metrics. Number 1, how easy is it to make? Number 2, how does it taste? Number 3, what's the vibe like? How much does the vibe match this Nick at Night themed night of drinking and horniness? For the Mai Tai, I gave it a D for easy to make. It is not easy to make. It is one of the more complicated drinks. For taste, I gave it a B, though. It's a pretty good drink. For vibe, I gave it a B because it does say, mid-century time period to me. I think there is some overlap between the vibe of, cheesy tiki drinks and Nick at Night. But they're just slightly different flavors of mid 20th century kitsch to me. And so I gave it a B. And so like I can imagine like Marion from Happy Days, I think she drinks a Mai Tai probably. A Mai Tai looks and tastes the way that the colorization of black and white Bewitched episodes looks. It's too much in a great way.
Yeah, it's highly saturated. I gave it a C plus for easy to make. It wasn't unbearable. You could do it. And then for taste, I gave it a B plus. It was not as good as I thought it would be. And then vibe, I also gave it a B. So it came to an average of a C plus. I would say it's a very high concept drink. If you're thinking, what am I going to drink for bad choices? You might really enjoy a Mai Tai if you like having to work for a drink and you like something that tastes pretty complex. I think the Mai Tai is going to do you just fine. I would also say that the Mai Tai is great if you like a high concept drink. If you want to put on some Brian Setzer orchestra in the background and like...
Is it Brian? Is that right?
I don't know. Jeff Setzer?
Jeff? No, I think the name is Brian Setzer, but I'm not sure that's exactly... To me, this is like put on Lawrence Welk to me, because this is like a hokey vacation. This is like if Bad Choices for you is like being a middle-class 1950s couple who goes and like grins like idiots in Hawaii while people put lays in them, and then you go to the bar and you get all giggly drunk on very sweet drinks. If that's Bad Choices to you, if that's Nick at Night to you, the Mai Tai.
Yeah, I will say though, you might think the Mai Tai is going to be super sweet. If you make a Mai Tai properly, it's actually quite tangy. So if you're going into this thinking, oh man, I want something super sugary, I don't think the Mai Tai is going to be quite what you're thinking, but you could always put in more orgeat because God knows what else you're going to do with it.
Or you can make another tiki drink, like a zombie, but we did make a zombie. Do we want to talk about the next drink?
Yes.
All right.
All right, my boyfriend, the Old Fashioned. Old Fashioned is rye whiskey, a beautiful drink. I will say every single step of it matters. If you're thinking, I don't want to do a little orange twist and then drop it into the drink, no, you have to. This drink lives and dies on the aromatics. So whenever they say, put 3 drops of Angostura bitters into the sugar and then stir it for 30 seconds, you have to actually do it. Otherwise, it won't taste like anything except rye whiskey with sugar.
Yeah, so you were talking about living or dying by the aromatics. For that reason, the Old Fashioned died a death for me because I can barely smell anything. I don't have a great sense of smell, and so for me, it just tastes like whiskey. On easy to make, I gave this a D. It's a surprisingly complicated drink to make because, as Bob was saying, you got to do all the steps. For taste, I gave it a C+. Again, this is because I'm missing out on all the nuance, and it's just like an ice cube and some whiskey, basically, for me. But for vibe, though, I gave it a B+. This is a classic drink.
Oh, yeah.
A classy drink. The only reason it's not an A is because it may be a little too, like, masculine and sophisticated for Nick at Night. We were talking before about how, like, this seems like a drink that some of the characters' dads would drink. So it's, like, almost exactly on point. I think this would be a fine choice for you if you want to have a very classy night at Bad Choices, but it's a little too beardy, a little too graying temples for, like, the iconic Nick at Night drink.
I will say, this drink, regardless of your gender, makes you feel like you have a huge dick and everyone can see the outline of it in your suit. That is just the vibe of this drink. So if you want to feel like that powerful, the Old Fashioned will absolutely do that for you. I don't claim to understand the science. I'm a humanities major. But I'm just relaying the facts to you that is the experience. I gave it a C- for easy to make, although I will say the ritual of it feels good, as opposed to the Mai Tai, which feels like you're cooking. Which, I mean, some people are into that. I'm not. I don't like to cook my fucking cocktail. Whereas the Old Fashioned feels like you're doing alchemy. For taste, I gave it an A-. I thought it was quite fucking delicious, but I am into a whiskey. And then for vibe, I gave it a B+. It feels very of the period, but it doesn't necessarily feel like Nick at Night. That gave us a B average. All right, on to my beautiful lover's girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
All right, do you want to talk about her?
I do. I can't stop. Ever since that night that we met.
Yeah.
The sidecar is a beautiful drink. The sidecar has a sugared rim, which in our previous recording, we were talking about the fact that it feels like when you not only kiss a pretty girl, but like the lip gloss is on point, and because it's her vibe. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to bore you for the third time by going on and on about the sidecar, Megan Bob, but it's a fantastic drink. For easy to make, I gave it an A+. It's not too tough at all. For taste, I gave it a B+. It's one of my favorites in the batch. It's a delicious drink. You do want that sugared rim. I think it's fine without it, but with it, you get a little bit of texture, you get a little bit of extra sweetness to offset like how tart it can be. Really, really good on taste. Not like one of my favorite. Well, it might now be one of my favorite drinks, but it's like it's in the top 5. It's not like the top drink, but B plus, strong B plus. And for vibe, I also gave it a B plus. Sidecar is a classic cocktail, and it's pretty, unlike the old fashioned, which is handsome.
Yes.
And so it's right on that level of like it maybe doesn't feel as old timey, feels a little more contemporary, but it has that like 1960s, like early 60s sex appeal.
All right. I gave an A minus for easy to make. It is pretty easy to make. For taste, I gave it a B. The tartness isn't everything for me, but I will say that the more you make sure that you get some of the sugar with each drink of it, the more it balances out. And then you have like a more positive experience. For me, a more positive experience with it because I don't love a super tart drink. So I would say if you're making sure that you're getting that lip gloss with each kiss, you're going to have probably an A minus experience. But, possibly for some of you out there, she may be an A plus plus. A vibe, B plus. It might be Agent 99's drink.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that because she is a bit of a sidekick. She is a girly girl, but she also has an edge.
Yeah.
The sugar rim, like that makes me think of like Barbara Feldon's got great lips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sidecar, and a super sexy, yeah, like a spy drink. It would look good in like a Get Smart set.
Yes. Also, super. It's not that it's make or break, but I will say that doing the orange twist, it says everything about who she is, that little orange twist. So definitely love yourself. Do the little orange twist. It doesn't necessarily add to the flavor, but it adds to the vibe in a way that is, I think, really important.
Yes. For me, like making recommendations about what you at home might want to drink, because we are different people than you are. Like we made our choice. But if you're coming to bad choices from the perspective that like maybe one of 3 things. If you are a cute girl, if you like cute girls, or if you're here at Bad Choices Nick at Night for cute girls, this is the drink for you, I think.
Also, coupe glass.
Yes, the coupe glass, which I believe my daughter at one point called a cute glass. It's very appropriate for the sidecar.
Yeah, you don't have to do it in a coupe glass, but I will say if you can get a coupe glass, it adds a certain je ne sais quoi that is just, it does a lot of vibe work for you. All right, next up, the Manhattan. Easy to make. I gave it an A minus. Taste, B plus. Goddamn tasty drink, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And then vibe, I gave it a B. I want to say something very important about vermouths. They have to go in the fridge after you open them. They just have to. They're super cheap. You could buy a new one every time if you want to, but just do yourself a favor, store them in the fucking fridge.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for that public service announcement. A lot of people don't refrigerate their vermouth. Sometimes you go to a place, I've heard, that does not, like some bars don't.
Pay $15 to have something that you're like, you fucked it up, bro.
Yeah. The Manhattan. So yeah, we were in total agreement. Every metric, we agreed completely, I believe. A minus on easy to make, B plus on taste. I too think this is like one of the best drinks we tasted. The vibe, also a B, only because I think it's like maybe a little too sophisticated for Nick at Night.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classier looking drink. It may look like you're a little bit above it with Nick at Night, which is not the vibe we necessarily would find ideal. However, more on this later because we talked about how to modulate the vibe on the Manhattan. Also, those Luxardo cherries. God damn, we paid about $30 for a jar of Luxardo cherries.
You don't have to do that. I just want to say, you can't use a maraschino. For God's sake, you can't just use a maraschino cherry. There are other kinds of properly cured or whatever you want to call it, cherries out there that you can use. In fact, we originally had rum bada bing cherries and they were fine. They were fine. And they did not cost $30. So if you're like, I don't have $30 to drop on cherries, this is not going to be the end of the world. But I will say the cherry is important to the drink.
Yeah, you got to have the cherry in it just for like the look, for the whole. And I understand some people put some of the cherry juice in the drink as well.
Yeah, if you were like, I don't know if the Manhattan's going to work for me because I like these things, but I like a drink that balances out to be a little sweeter. You can absolutely, I mean, if you're paying for that fucking cherries, just put some of the juice in there. Like, don't use every part of it. Don't lick the jar afterwards. Truly, I was telling Kris, like, I am going to be I'll shake it with water and just drink that water, just every single molecule of Luxardo cherries. I will not let it go to waste.
We ended up with a B plus average for the Manhattan, which puts it just a teeny bit above the sidecar, which was at like a B.25. It like we averaged like right between a B and a B plus.
Next up, Kris, do you want to talk about the drink? You thought we might land here.
Yeah, I felt like this was the odds-on favorite, the martini. The simplest of the drinks to make, given A for ease to make it. It does depend on how persnickety you are about your martini, but if you just make it the conventional way, it's a little bit of measuring, no big deal. It's easy. For taste, I gave it a B, and I think it would grow on you too.
Would have to. I mean, it's pure alcohol.
Yeah. I think it would have been better than a B as an experience to like just drink a bunch of martinis on the night of Bad Choices if we had gone that direction. For vibe, I gave it an A plus. I think you cannot get a more like iconic drink, and I think the balance of like it feels retro, but it also feels classy. Those two things kind of balance out for me. That makes it perfect for Nick at Night. If you think of a Nick at Night drink, to me, you're thinking of a martini.
Yeah, I gave it an A for easy to make. I gave it a B for taste, and then I differed with Kris a little bit about vibe. I said A minus. But in retrospect, I don't know why I gave it an A minus. I think it probably is an A plus. I think I gave it an A minus because I think of Nick at Night as just a little bit more goofy. But the martini is the martini is in the art for Bad Choices. It is the most recognizable drink there is, and it is recognizable for the period. If you are thinking, I've never really done a martini, I'm not sure, but I do have vodka. The vermouth is real cheap. And as long as you have Angostura bitters, you can test it out, and you're not going to be losing too much money if you just want to test it out and see. The olive does add something. They're not bullshitting you about that. And the bitters. Any of these cocktails, if it calls for bitters, you have to use the bitters. Like you can't go like, oh, I just didn't feel like it. No, you have to. Also, whenever it says shake, you have to shake. Whenever it says stir, you do have to stir. Ice is part of the equation with these cocktails. And the way that the ice melts is part of the cocktail. So the alchemy works because the alchemy works. So you do have to pay attention. If it's a stir boy, do the stirring. If it's a shake boy, do the shaking.
Yeah. Don't do like I did the first time that, to my recollection, that Megan Bob and I recorded a podcast project together, other than just like an episode of Gameable or whatever. But like we did a thing for us together. I was in a hotel room and I had such a rickety ass gimlet. Mm-hmm. Where I was like the vodka was just coming out of the fridge. I drank it from like one of the little cups they have in like the hotel bathroom for like rinsing your mouth or whatever. Don't do that. Don't be like me. Bad Choices deserves better. It's a special occasion.
Frankly, you deserve better. Like I love you and I want you to have a good time. And the martini will give you a good time. You're going to feel classy as fuck. But you're also going to feel like you're a James Bond, but you know you're not a James Bond, but you are a James Bond because you're drinking the martini. And you can kind of like move your arm around and be like, I'm a fancy motherfucker.
So much of it is just the tactile, like and the kinesthetic part of holding the martini glass.
Yes.
And I think like if you're going to treat Bad Choices like a cocktail party, and so like you've got your drink, and you're sipping it from time to time, but mainly you're just feeling cool holding it in your hand. Because it's like, there's less volume to the drink. It is like pure liquor, basically. Well, it's got the vermouth in it, but like, depending on how strong you make it, it's a strong drink. If that's what you want to do, if you want to like treat this like a cocktail party, if you want to wear a suit to Bad Choices, not the pants, obviously, but just the top, then I think the martini is for you.
Yeah, and we ended up with an A minus on the martini. The martini was great. I really was surprised because I have never been a person who was like, oh, I'd like a martini. They sound gross to me. But I was like, oh, this actually tastes like something? Like it tastes interesting and good, which really surprised me because I'm not generally a fan of things that don't have some amount of sweetness. But the Angostura bitters and the vermouth really make it do something.
Yeah, and of course you could make it with gin if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, we're not there to stop you. So
except when it comes to vermouth.
Yes.
Put it in your goddamn fridge.
That's the rule. Put the fucking vermouth in your fridge. For Bad Choices on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so fucking good. We are going to fuck both of the odd couple.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. And what are we going to be drinking, Megan Bob?
We're going to be drinking the Manhattan. It did not rate as high as the martini.
But it was so close. The Manhattan came out to a B+. The martini came out to an A-. So like we decided we've got really 2 finalists here.
Yes.
And we made a little bit of a compromise. We fine-tuned it. And we decided we're going to have Manhattans, but we're going to have them in martini glasses, as is sometimes done, with the Luxardo cherry like sunk to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a classy look, but you also get that silhouette.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, the Manhattan is going to be absolutely delicious. I mean, we went in on those cherries, so like, I mean, we'd be fools not to drink Manhattans now. Now this is our lifestyle. After we've invested in these fucking cherries, we have to send these cherries to college, baby.
Yes, the Luxardo cherries, they deserve everything. And at this point, we're so heavily invested.
Yeah.
It would feel weird consuming them for any reason other than a potentially lucrative podcast venture. Like, I would feel like, what am I doing eating this cherry for free?
Oh, yeah. No, these cherries, who knows? These cherries may have to show up in OnlyFans content just to like justify the cost of these fucking cherries.
I was thinking when we were on the way out of the liquor store, I was like, Megan, how would you feel about having one of these in like your cleavage, and we just take a picture? You could write off these cherries.
My taxes. I mean, I may have to. These cherries are a real fucking investment. I was protecting them with my life. I was like glaring at Kris as he was carrying the cherries, going like, if you fucking drop these, I will tackle you to the ground. So Bad Choices is on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. It is a live stream on Crowdcast. The link to register is in the show notes. Anyone who is a patron of Hard Choices at any level gets to come and join the party. It kicks off at 5 p.m. Pacific. It lasts about 3 hours. We have 2 intermissions, and in the second intermission, you come back with a shot. I'm probably only going to do half a shot because goddamn. And then we read the fanfic out loud, the fanfic that I am about to go write. People are probably going to have to make cum noises. Is that the phrase I want to use? Cum noises?
It's not the phrase I want you to use.
Well, I mean, we're in this relationship together. Grudging noise. The Adamses did win. So, and it's going to be a threesome fic. It's got to be a threesome fic.
Yeah, because they're a canonical couple.
Yeah.
And, who wants to just see a couple being horny with each other? That would be gross.
Yeah.
Inaccessible.
They're going to fuck beautiful, peerless Samantha Stevens from Bewitched.
God damn. She's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to go write that fanfic.
Yeah. And you got to go register for Bad Choices on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific if you are a patron of Hard Choices. And if you're not a patron of Hard Choices, buddy, come on. We got past Bad Choices for you to listen to. We got so much bonus content for you to listen to. And it means that all future stuff that is patrons only, you get to get in on. Man, the next Bad Choices after this is Shrek. Like, I know, Kris is making a real face. You get to come hang out in the Discord. Everybody in the Discord is fantastic. It is a wonderful, wholesomely horny community. Yeah, you're absolutely going to love being a member of the Hard Choices community. So if you haven't become part of that, go over to patreon.com/hardchoices and get in on it. And if you are a patron, make sure that you register for Bad Choices on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. You get to be the ones who ask us the questions during Let's Unpack That. I cannot fucking wait. It's gonna be amazing. Also, you get to go off in the chat. It is such a fucking good time. Baby, how much of a good time is Bad Choices?
It is such a good time. And I, for once, am really looking forward to interacting with the people in the chat because I want to know what they're drinking. Because we tried so many different vibes and so many different cocktails. So I cannot wait for this. Can't wait for Nick at Night. Can't wait for the whole experience. Can't wait for the fanfic. And can't wait to find out what everybody's drinking and what experiences they're having of this, an icon of our generation, Nick at Night, such a shared experience. It's going to be a fantastic time.
Absolutely. We want you to be there. So go register for that. And hopefully we get to see you on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. And until then, stay hard.
This episode's music is Funk Me by Soundroll. You can find their work at upbeat.io. That's UPPBEAT.io. This episode's logo was designed by Elliot B.K. Lang. Thanks for listening.